We'll do it live. Fuck it.
And we are live. Yank and Kiwi stream is back. It's Brett and Sam back on the YouTubes, in your ear holes, verbally raping your ears.
Did you have to? Did you have to give them that mental image? But by the way, if you saw me, Brett, laughing while the intro was playing, it was because you hit the intro and then immediately I get a notification from YouTube that this stream is happening. Shows up in the phone vibrates and go, oh, what's this? Yankee Kiwi stream live. Okay. So yes, we're back. This is what we're doing for now until until a new computer is sorted out for me, because till I have a new computer sorted out, because sound quality from this sort of thing is too shitty for an actual normal proper episode, but we could still do it as a live stream because everyone expects live streams from people with fewer than 100,000 subs to sound and look like shit.
So I guess we'll begin how we always begin. We are your hosts, yep. Brett, the handsome and charismatic one.
And Sam, the dude who actually has hair and who's funny. Is that me? I'm the funny one with hair.
And also never
who isn't going bald
up and makes fun of my fashion sense.
Yes, but I think that's my traditional introduction there. Wait, you have a fashion sense?
Also brags about Anglo supremacy. Actually, no, wait, supposed Anglo supremacy. Celtic supremacy for life, bitch.
Dude, just last night we agreed to come to a truce and agree that they are the co-equal best white people.
Yes, we did.
Best Hawaiians.
Yes, I did.
By the way, speaking of Hawaiians, did you see that Sargon of Akkad did an interview with Jared Taylor?
Did he? No. Now I have to see
on the Thinkery podcast, he had the latest episode. He had Jared Taylor on. I haven't watched it yet, but it'll be interesting.
I can top that. Former guy from the Rebel, Kalen Robertson. He's been doing an interview with Richard Spencer.
Oh my god! Oh yes, no, he's gone pretty full on alt-right since.
Or if not, at least
he's going in that direction. He's going in that sort of direction, which is interesting to see. Yeah, so just a reminder to the sort of gatekeeper, basic bitch conservatives who want to see conservative media outlets that want to seem slightly edgy so that they can attract crowds. Trying to silence your actually edgy people will just push them farther right. It's happened to Kalen. Lauren Southern quits and then immediately is fucking back in Europe on fucking boats with guns trying to stop refugees getting back in, you know? It's like, it's not going to work.
Hell, they even lost.
Although she was doing that before, but... What's happened with Faith Goldie? Has Faith Goldie gone far right?
I don't know, but they lost her after she dared to appear on a Daily Stormer podcast.
Which is the funniest thing, firing someone for appearing on a podcast. I'm not sure what's funnier, that they fired Faith Goldie for appearing on a podcast, or that Faith Goldie, who is, other than being an immigration hawk, very much a basic bitch neocon, appeared on the fucking Daily Stormer podcast, on a fucking Daily Stormer podcast. But by the way, you know the Daily Stormer has had to go to tour now?
Yeah, I heard they lost their domain.
And then they lost every domain that they tried to get since, and they've actually had to go to the dark net because it's the only place they won't be taken down from. They were actually having downloads for print editions that were PDFs of the story of the articles from that page that were all formatted to look like newspapers for a bit.
Wow. Yeah. And as if it couldn't get worse for the Rebel, they also lost Gavin.
Yeah, who I kind of can't stand Gavin, but Gavin is probably Gavin and Lauren were probably together about 80% of where their audience came from, getting rid of both. Ooh. Or both of them leaving. Now the only person they have left who doesn't suck is Tommy Robinson.
Yep.
And it seems like the reason he hasn't left is because he's like, well, I'm stuck in this contract.
He's got nowhere else to go.
He's stuck in the contract. But if you heard some of those audio clips of him talking, he's clearly basically, him talking to Ezra and to, I think it was Kaylin, and he's clearly like, the subtext to everything he's saying is, I got to take this bullet and stay here because I got nowhere else to go. Get out of here, Kaylin. You're getting fucked.
Actually, shouldn't Tommy Robinson be making bank over his book sales?
I'm not sure how well they sell. I don't know. I think he's the sort of dude who's like, I'll take any chance I can to get my message out.
Yeah, true. I mean, his books are probably selling okay, but he needs a wider platform. Actually,
probably. Anyways, we actually have a topic for this episode.
Yeah. We were going to talk. Okay, how many people watching? If anyone is watching,
better check if anyone's watching before you finish that sentence.
Watching. Sam and I just got through season 4 of BoJack Horseman, which is which I will say that along with Rick and Morty and Castlevania are probably the 3 best animated shows out right now.
I'll go farther. I will say BoJack Horseman is, to my knowledge, the best American TV show airing, like being made currently. Yeah. That's my view.
I'm not
period.
That. That is a fair assessment. I would. Like I said, you could easily put Rick and Morty, Castlevania, and BoJack in the top 3.
I've not watched Castlevania yet, and I've not watched the latest season of Rick and Morty, which really says a lot. I like Rick and Morty a lot. I think you're probably more of a fan of it than I am.
I do.
But
I got both first seasons on DVD. I have a Rick and Morty poster in my room. My computer and my phone are decked out with Rick and Morty themes. I am wubba lubba dub dub. Let's get swifty here.
Yeah, I like Rick and Morty a hell of a lot, but I think it says a lot that I'm waiting for most things that are airing or that are coming out to watch until I have access to until I can watch them again properly, have a computer and stuff, because a mobile phone is far from ideal. But BoJack, the minute that dropped, or the minute I realized that dropped, which was about a day after, I literally stayed up all night marathoning it on my phone, because BoJack Horseman is just that good, and I love it that much that the minute there's more of it, I have to consume it. And Rick and Morty, I like Rick and Morty a lot, but that can wait for sort of ideal viewing to me.
Yeah. And
so, actually, there's the question. Since it's kind of clear where I stand on this, which show do you prefer, Rick and Morty or BoJack?
Dude, I think do you really have to ask?
It's Rick and Morty, right?
Yup.
I thought so, but I thought I would just double check.
Yeah,
that said, they're definitely the 2 best sort of
comedies.
American cartoons currently airing that I can think of, although, currently being made. You can't really say currently airing for a show that gets
currently being produced,
dumped out on Netflix. Yeah, currently being produced. Yeah, and then kind of they're like the very, very top tier, and then just below, in terms of the more comical ones, you've got Bob's Burgers and you've got Archer, which I love those 2 shows, but they're not quite in that same tier.
You could probably. I don't know. I want to say you could maybe put in F is for Family, but I don't think that's going to be for everybody.
F is for Family, I think, is in the same tier as Bob's Burgers and fuck me.
Sure.
Archer, yeah. I think you could put it in the same tier. By the way, is the new season of F is for Family out yet? Season 2?
Yeah, it already is out.
Okay.
And it's longer.
Oh yeah. Is it how is it in terms of quality? Don't spoil me on anything, but is it as good as the first season? Better?
I haven't finished it, but so far it looks like it's ramping out. I mean, like, it's taking the story it's trying to tell in the next logical direction, obviously, and it really looks like it's ramping up the drama and tension.
So it's kind of emphasizing the treasure half of the treasure comedy as opposed to the first season, or in comparison to the first season, there's more emphasis on that part of it.
I think it might be fair to say.
Right, because that first season is definitely one of those shows where, because the first season of F is for Family, I think that's a show that there are huge chunks of that show that would be, of that first season rather, that would be, I'm trying to think of exactly how to put it, that would be kind of unbearably depressing if it were done as just straight up drama as opposed to as opposed to it emphasizing the tragicomedy sort of element of it. Because it's like, wow.
It's hard for me to get through, and even I know it's a comedy, but I think it's just more because it hits close to home for me. Yeah, for sure. I gotta say, man, it's still funny to me that they gave Bill Burr a TV show, and it's a cartoon. I'm glad, because, you know, as great as some of those comic plays, a character based on themselves sitcom thing that, you know, that kind of Seinfeld started and Louis C.K. made popular again with Louis, as great as some of those can be. I mean, I love Legit, which was Jim Jeffries' one, and One Mississippi's great, although the second season of that's out and I haven't watched that yet, but that's Tig Notaro's one. And those shows can be great, but it's cool to see a comic not following that trend and doing a show, you know? Well, I think if F is for Family, even if it was done live action, it probably wouldn't work as well.
No, it wouldn't. There would be too much realism. Right, whereas in animation you have the idea of something rather than you're not seeing the thing. Well, you are, but you've got the idea of it because you're not seeing actual people doing it. You know, animation is a visual representation of ideas more so than live action, because live action there's people actually doing everything, and that's actually what can make animation such a powerful medium.
Yeah, and it can allow you that sort of what's the word I want to use? It's some kind of, there's a disconnect with animation because you know subconsciously this isn't actually happening.
Yes, and that can make it more powerful because you've just got the idea of it. And sometimes in live action you can be a little distracted by the knowledge of sort of the artifice of you're watching people doing this, you know.
Yeah, you can get.
Whereas with live action, whereas with animation, it's almost more pure because you're being given just a visual representation of the ideas, of the idea of. So, say you're watching a scene, and say it's a guy pulls out a gun and shoots someone. In live action, you're seeing an actual person pulling out a gun and pretending to shoot someone. In animation, you are seeing the idea of someone pulling out a gun and shooting someone represented. And it's in a way where you don't have that sort of the artifice and the realism of it being done by an actual person, which can make it more powerful in some cases. I think I'm being a bit clumsy in how I'm explaining this idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if we had someone, like someone who's actually studied animation, they could explain it a lot better.
It's anyone who wants to know, if anyone wants to see this idea being explained properly, look up Roger Ebert talking about Grave of the Fireflies, and he goes into that a little bit as to that being part of why that movie is so powerful, is that it's animated, and you kind of really are getting the idea of it. Yeah. I'm just kind of clumsily explaining it because I sometimes have trouble explaining ideas.
I think I might have an idea of where you're trying to get at, is that.
But I think you get the gist of what I'm saying.
Animation can be more powerful because it can get you at the subconscious level.
Yes, yeah. Because you don't have the realism distracting you. You just have the idea of You have the core of it. It's in a way it's a form that gets to the core of things more.
Yeah.
Or can do when used right. Obviously Family Guy isn't getting at the core of anything, But BoJack sure is.
To be fair, it's not true.
What was that? No, it's not. As I said, it depends on the type of show and what you're doing with it. I picked Family Guy because Family Guy is sort of the ultimate example of the inanely crap sitcom.
Yeah.
Cartoon sitcom, that was the status quo for sitcoms. For cartoons that weren't for kids until fairly recently.
Yep.
5-6 years ago.
Yep.
Probably.
Because now we got BoJack.
Yep. Now we've managed to bring it right back around to BoJack Horseman. So,
I guess for the 5 people who haven't seen BoJack, we should probably give some brief premise.
Well, I mean, this is a season 4 discussion, and we're talking about season 4, and we're going into spoilers.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not caught up, leave and come back. This will be on YouTube. And DNT
just
says
tune
Family
out.
Guy sucks.
Yeah, just tune out if you haven't watched BoJack, or if you haven't watched the latest season. But you should be watching BoJack, and you should be watching the latest season if you've watched BoJack but haven't seen the latest season. That's basically what it comes down to. Okay, so
Hold up. By the way, yes, DNT, Family Guy does suck.
yes, it does. Oh, is Deante here?
Yes, he is. I'm monitoring.
Right, he hasn't watched BoJack.
I'm monitoring the chat. Okay,
Right.
so we should. Yeah, I mean, like, if we're gonna really get to how to season 4, I think we're gonna need to provide context for it. So we're gonna have to at least give some brief.
I guess.
Some brief.
I'm just
of everything that's.
I just kind of figure no one's going to listen to an in-depth spoilery discussion of the latest season of BoJack Horseman who hasn't seen BoJack Horseman.
This is on the off chance we have someone who hasn't. Still, just.
I guess. Well, Deante hasn't, and he might want to stick around and listen to us talk about it. I guess.
Yeah, he probably would. But yeah, we'll just. So yeah, I mean, like, the premise of BoJack Horseman is that it stars a guy named
washed up actor who was in a terrible 90s sitcom, and he's an anthro horse. It's weird. Drinks a lot, socially anxious, depressive, self-destructive, isolates everyone in his life.
Yep.
And then the various people he meets and who are in his life, his agent, a writer who ghostwrites his book in the first season, another actor,
who was on a rival sitcom, and
yes,
the guy who sponges on his couch.
Yeah, various people, and kind of it's about a lot. But, the first few seasons are about how BoJack kind of destroys and isolates everyone around him and his self-destructiveness and about... Well, that's what it's about for BoJack. And then it's got a lot of parallels between him and Diane, who is the writer. And you have all this, characters around him realizing... Some of them realizing maybe they're better off without him in their lives and stuff like that. And culminating in the end of season 3, him... so the girl, Sarah Lynn, the actress who played his daughter on Horsing Around, which was the shitty sitcom, becomes a pop star and is a druggie. And she was sober for a bit, and then he takes bender, and she dies of an OD, and that's basically that's kind of, and then the ending of season 3 is BoJack goes off on his own, kind of not really sure how to process it, how to deal with the guilt, and kind of he's driving along in his car and basically attempts suicide because he's speeding along in the car and takes his hands off the accelerator, and then it kind of ends. I forget, does he grab it in the last minute, or is he distracted by the horses? No, he's not distracted by the horses. The horses are later. He grabs it or something.
Yeah, I think somewhere at the last minute he doesn't completely go through with it. That's what we know.
And then he kind of... But it goes off the road, and then he gets out of it, and he's kind of up on a hill, and there's sort of, it ends on the note of him seeing a bunch of horses doing a marathon run across the desert, and there's this kind of, maybe this will be an upturn for him. And yes, season 4 for BoJack's personal journey has been kind of him making some personal growth and reforming some of those connections he had, but in healthier ways, and helping people. And actually, he's been the least self-destructive person in this season.
Yeah,
other than Mr. Peanut Butter, who lacks the self-awareness to be self-destructive, and Todd, who also kind of is a little simple to be self-destructive. And I love Todd, but you know.
I would say Todd's more innocent than simple. Like,
I suppose you're right, yeah. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. Echo. Oh God. I'm getting echo, and it's throwing me every time I speak.
Hold on. I got something.
Delay. Earphones you can stick on, because it's really bad right now.
All right. I got it.
Right, okay. Good. I can't talk with this.
Quality. We got professional quality sound on our streams.
Yes, we do. Shit. Where was I? Oh, this is where I was. Yeah. I'll say this. So when I didn't start watching BoJack till last year, and I think it was just after season 3 had come out. And so I marathoned those 3 seasons in one go. And I have to say, at the end of season 3, I was like, well, show's not going to be able to top that season. But I'm going to say right now, season 4 is the best season of the show, I think, easily. Yes. What do you think? Where would you put it in the rankings of the seasons?
I would say it's the best so far. I still think it's got room to top itself. It
has got room to top itself, but at the same time, season 4 is at such a high standard that I'm not necessarily expecting it to top itself, but I am expecting it to be as good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm not expecting it to be worse.
At least expect a new standard of quality.
Yeah. But that is the thing. You see an improvement. Season 1's really good. Although some people don't like the first few episodes, I thought they were quite funny, and I thought they set up everything quite well.
Yeah, they did.
Season 2 is amazing. Season 3 is amazing, and then season 4 is fucking godly. God tier, fucking god. Yeah.
I would say season 4 has definitely shown us a lot of insight into BoJack's character. Because through the previous first seasons, we've seen how much of a self-destructive, depressive BoJack is, and now it's kind of laid bare why he's the way he is. Yeah. So, I'm going to get to that in a moment. I'm going to say 2 things. One's going to be about the theme of this season, and one is going to be the ridiculous sentence that is so 2017, so 2017, that a cartoon about a talking horse is the most poignant and moving and insightful show currently being produced. And in case you don't believe me, anyone listening who hasn't watched it, what was the theme of this season? The theme of this season was the heritability of mental illness, how cycles of trauma get perpetuated through generations by people who don't actually understand fully the trauma, where it comes from, who have
genetic predispositions to mental illnesses and have also learnt behaviors associated with them and with trauma and have cycles of abuse and how they continue and how to eventually sort of start to break free of them.
Yep.
That's what the season is about. The season, that's literally a show about a cartoon horse, and it does this with remarkable nuance. So what the show has done is Bojack's mother, Beatrice, who was introduced, was the first time she showed up early in season 2 when she calls him.
Actually, I think it might have been season 1, like when the book got published. Well, actually, what I think happened was like she was in season 1, but like only like flashbacks, and
yeah,
I think that time Bojack had that trip, that bad drug trip.
Yes,
But
and then early season 2, she calls him.
Yeah, that's when we got to
says she's read
properly.
the book, calls him a narcissist, and says, I forget the exact phrasing, but
I think I remember
part of the exact phrasing.
I remember what it, how it went. She said, "You were born broken, and that's your birthright."
Yeah, I'm getting to it. That's not the full bit. She says that it takes a real narcissist to write a book like that and think anyone would want to read it. And then she says, "You come by it honestly, the darkness in you. It's your birthright. You were born broken," basically. Yeah. And then that's the dialogue. And it's like it's still actually, I would still put that as one of the biggest gut punches in the show.
Yeah.
You were born broken. It's like, wow. And this season she comes back and we find out actually where she was, because she's calling from somewhere with curtains and it's kind of weird, and there was speculation that maybe it was a hospital or something. And she's in an old folks home and has dementia. And we forgot to mention one of the most pertinent plot lines from the end of last season, which is there's a young girl horse looking for Bojack. And at the beginning of the season, she shows up and believes she is his daughter. And so how this happens is he helps her find the mother after fucking up a bit, but he helps her find the mother. And he takes her to visit Beatrice. Beatrice has very advanced dementia, but anytime, and doesn't recognize Bojack except on the TV and horsing around. In the end, she gets kicked out of the home because he tries to do something to make her remember her in the present, so he can tell her "fuck you."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which we'll get to that again when we discuss Time's Arrow, because the "fuck you" is very important there.
Mm-hmm.
The way it's used, because Bojack uses "fuck" once a season. And every season except the 4th season, it's someone talking to Bojack when he's basically destroyed a relationship with them. There's what was Herb's one? There's Herb in season 1.
Yeah, it's season 1 where he tells Bojack, you have to live with the shitty thing you did. There's no I'm never gonna forgive you. You are not going to get any closure. I'm not going to be a prop in your story.
Right, yeah. But there's an actual fuck in there somewhere. I forget exactly what he says, because I can remember it from the other season.
He says, "Get the fuck out of my house."
Right, yeah, and then... no, get the fuck out of my...
Yeah. No,
I thought that was Charlotte who says, "Get the fuck out of my house."
No, Herb says it.
Oh, what does Charlotte say then in season 2?
I think she said, "If you ever come back here, I will fucking kill you."
Oh yes, I'll fucking kill you. And then season 3 is Todd. Fuck man, what more can I say? Sorry, no. What more is there to say? Yeah, there we go. Which is after Bojack's fucked the chick who is his kind of girlfriend. Bojack has sex with her.
He has a crush on, but they're kind of friends.
Yeah.
And then of course, we find out that Todd's asexual.
By the way, there's a huge amount of the fandom who absolutely hates Emily.
Really?
They're like, she tries to manipulate Todd into a friendship, and she manipulates him into ending his, and she's shitty about his friendship with BoJack and kind of manipulates him into ending. It's like, what? She just said, the BoJack thing is particularly ridiculous because all she does is goes, he's treating you like shit. And plants the seed in his mind that, oh, he is treating me like shit. Emily did nothing wrong. Oh, and they're all like, at the end of this third season, he and Emily, they do some business together. I forget what it is, and they each make $8 million, and he accidentally tips $8 million to the waitress. Yeah. And an actual reason, I shit you not, that some people have hated on Emily is that she didn't give him half of her $8 million afterwards.
She didn't have to.
I know, some people are like, she should have given him $4 million of her $8 million when he did that. What? The shit?
Talk about missing the point, man.
But yes, the fuck will be relevant later. But in this season, it's interesting because it's used as BoJack wanting to say fuck you to the person who is kind of implied to have fucked him up so much. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to it later, but he actually doesn't do that when she recognizes him later on. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that later on because, boy, I think so much. We could probably talk so much just about the old Sugarman Place and Time's Arrow, which are the two best episodes in this season and of the show period, I think, and kind of very much echo each other to a point where I actually can't really view them as separate episodes almost, if that makes sense. They just have so much in common where, like, if you kind of view them, if you don't sort of think of them together, you're kind of, you know what I mean? There's stuff that you're missing. I don't know.
They're like, it's like a two-parter.
Yeah. Although that said, the old Sugarman Place is my favorite episode of the show, because it hits my sensibilities really well. But we'll get to that. So Beatrice ends up coming to live with BoJack and his supposed daughter, Hollyhock. And the way the show kind of does it with this season is it via flashbacks and via sort of weird stuff Beatrice says when, you know, because of dementia that actually turns out to be relevant. Mm-hmm. And via BoJack currently trying to do right by this girl he thinks is his daughter, and via Hollyhock, it kind of has this it kind of has a three-pronged lens, so to speak, through which, it has three lenses, there we go, through which it approaches the themes about the cycles of abuse and trauma and mental illness and how they perpetuate themselves, right? Mm-hmm. It has the one who's fucked up BoJack who's trying not to fuck up Hollyhock, and Hollyhock who's kind of...
She's completely innocent, actually.
She's... now, she does have some of it, some of the traits, but she is not an abusive... She's not a toxic person like BoJack had. Yeah. Like BoJack, well, it's not fair to call BoJack a toxic person by the end of season 4, but for much of season 4 he is.
She's basically,
and by the end of season 4 he still has some toxic traits, but he's working towards, he's working on it. And Beatrice is completely toxic.
Yeah, like what I was gonna say is like. I mean, like, just to add on to what I said about Hollyhock basically being the innocent one.
Yeah,
I mean,
she is.
Yeah,
and that's where the impetus for that's where the final impetus for BoJack to improve comes from. Is he goes, and I think he basically says this, is I've fucked up everything else in my life. I can't fuck this up. So I can't ruin her as well, you know.
Yeah.
But there's other threads, but I don't know, like, Peanut Butter running for mayor, which is hilarious, and stuff like that.
He was running for governor, actually.
Governor, that's what I mean. Which is hilarious, and which culminates in the funniest episode of the show so far, called Underground, where, due to various reasons, kind of a complicated turn of events, Mr. Peanut Butter has ended up supporting fracking and allowed fracking in his backyard, holds a party for donors. The fracking causes an earthquake and they get trapped underground. And Jessica Biel starts a fire cult, burns Zach Braff, and eats him. And yes, they were played by themselves. And one of the funniest lines ever is uttered, tonight we dine on Zach Braff. Tomorrow, canine. Because they're going to eat Mr. Peanut Butter the next day. The flame does not care for... Oh, fuck, I wish I could remember that whole quote. You know, the flame does not care for... That whole thing is so...
The flame only wishes you be fed.
Jessica Biel starting a fucking fire cult underground is... it's really funny shit.
It's insane and hilarious, yes.
Yes. Oh, here's my favorite thing about Jessica Biel in the show is when she originally got some scripts for it and was interested in doing it. They didn't write the sorts of savage jokes they actually wrote in the show, and she said, "I'll only do it if you really mercilessly mock me. You guys are going too soft on me." And that's where this stuff all comes from, is Jessica Biel basically threw down the gauntlet and went, you guys have to be as harsh on me as you can.
Oh, my lord.
To the point, and I love, like, the jokes about her perfume in this season, where it's called B-list. And it sounds like B-list. And Diane thinks she's saying B-list.
It's one of the... I'm not the biggest fan of puns, but that is a great pun.
Not as good as all the Courtney Portnoy puns. The tongue twisters this season. You know why they give Amy Sedaris so many of them?
Why?
Because she hates them. And so the writers basically go out of their way to write as many as possible for Princess Carolyn. Sorry, yeah, Princess Carolyn. And some of those, I don't know how, like, there's phrases like, she's fallen short of 4-quadrant support, and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, you may recognize Courtney Portnoy as the formerly portly consort, and so, you know, there's all these crazy phrases, I can't remember all of them, but it's nuts. And they're some of my favorite gags.
I would love to sit on one of their recording sessions just to see how Amy Sedaris gets through one of those tongue twisters.
Yeah. But yeah, she hates them and is so funny at doing them, so they write as many as possible for her to fuck with her.
That just has to be worth being a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah. And Amy Sedaris must just be like, fuck, another one? Well, fuck you too.
Oh, man,
but I
imagine
think,
the outtakes.
Yes, but as I was saying, I think the main I think the most interesting things to talk about in Season 4 aren't the comedy things, because the comedy's great, but comedy by its nature is very tricky to talk about without ruining it. But yes, so Season 1 starts with an episode where Bojack doesn't show up at all. Bojack's gone missing since the end of Season 3. And then in Season 2, we get Bojack. And it turns out that he's gone to the now abandoned old family home that his grandparents lived in and his mother lived in out of Michigan.
Ah, yes.
And
I remember Michigan.
And we have... that's a reference, by the way, to later points in the show. We're in Michigan. Can you taste the ice cream too?
Michigan does.
By the way,
Michigan does have good ice cream.
By the way, there's an alternate interpretation of her saying yes, she can, which is that she's lucid and is actually lying to him the whole way through that scene.
Really?
Yeah. I prefer that she's not lucid and lying to him to kind of try and do something good by him. Interpretation of that scene, but it's an interesting alternate interpretation that she's lying to him to try and do some right by him.
It is. It really is.
But so anyways, this is episode 2. I'm not going through episode by episode, but there does need to be a description of the first 2 episodes to really know where, to explain how the trajectory of the season goes so we can discuss it, really. But so he gets there and stays there for quite a while because we see him go through winter, don't we? So he's there for at least winter.
I think they said he was there for like a year and a half, if I remember correctly.
That sounds about right because he goes through a couple of winters, I was going to say, I think. And he's just moping around there for a long period of time. And ends up, there's a dragonfly, who helps him renovate the house. And throughout the whole thing, it's kind of cutting between that and flashbacks, well, so to speak, of the past and the present of the house and things that happened there and it blends together visually. So you'll have Bojack standing there and then in the background you'll have say Beatrice's mother and her father walking in and, stuff going on like that. And I am a sucker for that sort of thing. I am a sucker for the blending of the past and the present and like dreams and reality, sort of that kind of blending together. I'm a sucker for that being done very well visually. I mean...
Now here's the thing I'm trying to understand. Like, obviously Bojack can't see it because he wasn't there.
No, Bojack. It's not Bojack's memories.
Yeah, I mean that's a given.
It's not like an Only Yesterday situation where the flashbacks you're seeing are the characters' memories, or a Wild Strawberries situation where they're the characters' dreams of the past, of things that maybe didn't happen, but they dreamed it. What you're seeing is really parallel story. It's really parallel storytelling where they're kind of bleeding it together.
So it's more of an artistic decision than anything. It's not a it's not a narrative decision. It's an artistic one.
Yeah, it's telling 2 stories in parallel. And it's telling the story of Bojack being there and making another connection with someone to some degree and fixing the house, only to then try and help the person, fuck it up, realize he can't help the person, and then leave, right? Which actually, a lot of people are like, why didn't he try and help that fly? It's like, A, the fly tried to kill him, literally, and B, he realized he couldn't, and that trying to help him would just fuck things up more. He actually did the right thing there in leaving. And then it's between that and the story of his grandmother and grandfather. What was his grandmother's name? It is Joseph Sugarman. Joseph Sugarman.
Name escapes me.
I can't remember. And Beatrice and Beatrice's older brother who dies in World War II. Mm-hmm. And her mother basically has no outlet for the grief. Can't process it. Her father doesn't know how to respond to it. And sort of it all culminates in a great scene where Bojack, after having finally finished the house, sees an old picture of it and realizes there's a
missing weather vane.
A missing weather vane. And this is kind of where the climax of the show, and my favorite scene of the show, my favorite scene of the show, but the climax of the episode is, and it's where you have the most blending together of the two, and the fly goes, I know where it is, and it's at a barn, and he goes to a barn, and then he's distracting the people there who have it, and Bojack's trying to get the weather vane, and then what's happening in the past is Beatrice's mother, there's a military party going on there, basically, returned serviceman party kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Beatrice's mother drunkenly shows up, makes a spectacle out of herself and can't deal with it, basically. But there's a scene in it where, as the fly the dragonfly, I forget his name, to distract it, sits down at a piano and starts playing and singing some jazz song that was actually written for the show, but it sounds like an old standard. It's a fucking good song.
Really good.
And it's kind of this, yeah. And the way they do it is sort of it's interest. It basically becomes, this is where they blend together because it's sort of sung as a duet. She's singing it as well.
Yeah, it's done as a duet. So
yeah, and it's that whole scene is great, but that specific part of it is just such a masterpiece. Oh, I forgot the fucking Horse with No Name cover, because if we're talking about shit that's amazing in it, there's a scene with BoJack just driving to Michigan, and it's got this amazing redone cover of Horse with No Name by America that is like a million times better than the original, and it's a great fucking scene. Anyways, and then sort of BoJack, and then you have BoJack and the dragonfly driving off, being chased, and Beatrice's mother, with Beatrice in the car, drunk. Beatrice's mother drunk, driving away, and I think she makes Beatrice drive.
Yeah, she does. She makes Beatrice drive, but and because Beatrice is a little girl, she doesn't know how to drive,
and so she crashes, and then you kind of have, sort of, BoJack tries to help the guy because the dragonfly doesn't fly. He had a wife, and then BoJack kind of tries to force him to fly when they put the thing back by falling off a ladder, and the flies grabs him. He finds out what happens and basically tries to kill them both by flying them up, because it turns out what happened was he was doing a similar thing with his wife, and she wanted to go down, and he was like, no, we're going to go higher, 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 and she got caught in an airplane and died. And so he flies out really high and then crashes down into a lake. And BoJack drags him out, and then he goes, I don't want to live, and it's like, and BoJack just kind of like stands there and just kind of realizes there's nothing he can do and walks off.
Yep.
And then you have the Beatrice thing, Beatrice's mother, where her mother kind of fully has a breakdown and says, so I don't know what to do. I can't be with people. I can't be alone, or something like that. And she says, I want to be better. Fix me. And then it turns out, well, this is post-World War II, so maybe you can, in America, so maybe you can guess what the fixing is. But, yep, you kind of cut to Beatrice sitting outside, and her father opens the door and he says, I forget what he says, but, there's something you can operate to fix this stuff, right? And then you see one of the more disturbing visuals of it, which is her mother with a frontal lobotomy scar, basically.
Yeah.
And,
yep, they went there.
And they went there. And not only that, throughout the episode, she makes jokes. Why I've got half a mind to do this, that, or the other, and plays piano. And Beatrice walks up to her. And she's sitting at the piano, and she tries to play piano, but she can't play it. And she just says, why I have half a mind, and trails off. It's like, ooh. And I think, is that the end of the episode? I think that's like the note they actually ended that episode on, is why I have half a mind.
If it's not the end, yeah, that's probably more or less the note it ended on.
Yeah. It's the note that part of the story ends on. And I gotta say, that was, to me, now, some people didn't have this reaction. Some people found this purely a gut punch. I found it a mix of gut punch and pitch black comedy. Why I have half a mind.
You can.
Which did you find it to be?
It's a gut punch, all right, but I can see the comedy because, like, she'd been saying it throughout most of the episode. Yeah. It was foreshadowed. It was set up.
Yeah. Now, what I mean when I say is, it's sort of like, in the last half of Evangelion, where there are parts that get just so dark that the only way you can respond is to laugh. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, that's what I mean when it's the dark comedy. It went so dark that it became funny, but not not in a bad way, it's kind of overwhelmingly dark. It is. It's a fucking disturbing moment. Yeah, no, I don't know, that episode, BoJack is no stranger to making me cry, and that episode made me cry like 2 or 3 times. Or tear up a couple times, and then I was basically a mess from BoJack rescuing the dragonfly on. It's kind of a mess for that episode.
Oh yeah.
And it's my favorite episode of the show because it's very poignant and clever, and there's some great jokes. There's Joseph Sugarman goes blames the death of his son, says it's the Jews' fault. If they hadn't just made Adolf Hitler so angry at them, he might have still been alive. Is basically what he says.
Oh man, of course it's gonna make you laugh.
It's so funny. All my time on Paul has made Jew jokes an automatic thing I laugh at. any jokes about any race, though, to be most like that aren't lazy and hacky and lame, which is why I don't laugh at the third wave feminist white jokes, because they're not funny. Dave Chappelle's jokes about white people are funny, though.
Well, to be fair, can you really imagine a feminist that's actually funny? You can't. Exactly.
I refer anyone who is trying to the video of Patrice O'Neill on Fox News debating the feminist. Have you seen that? The feminist.
I'll have to.
Oh, you've got to. The feminist basically went, you told her horribly sexist joke, and you got to censor people. And he's like, you don't know funny. I'm here as a representative of funny. This shit is funny. She tries to recount one of the jokes he told that was offensive. It's the angry pirate.
Oh,
you know the angry pirate, right?
Don't spoil it. I gotta look that up for myself, man. I believe you, but
no, it's a well-known thing. It's the angry pirate is, I think, where you're fucking a chick and then you kick her in the leg and come in her eye. So she hops her on one foot and then has come in one eye. So she goes because she's in pain. And the woman actually starts to recount it and then gets it wrong, and Patrice goes, no, you're wrong, and it's still funny even how you do it. And then he tells it and then everyone laughs. It's great. Patrice O'Neill was amazing.
Was this on Opie and Anthony?
No, this was on Fox News.
Really? Holy shit.
He was on Fox. This was, I think, shortly after the Imus thing, where Imus referred to someone as a nappy-headed hoe.
Oh.
Sorry, referred to someone as nappy-headed hoe and got fired.
I know what you're talking about. It was some shock jock on like AM radio.
Don Imus.
I forget his name, but yeah, he called some college women's basketball players nappy-headed hoes.
That was Don Imus, and he actually wasn't a shock jock. Huh? He was just a talk. He was just a talk jock. It was just a talk show jock. Huh. And anyways, you're right about the feminist thing. So,
although I will say women can be funny. I watched Tammy Pescatelli. She's hilarious.
I'm not familiar with her, but women can certainly be funny. Yeah. You're right. I mean, Tig Notaro is hilarious, for example. Although she's a lesbian, so,
Yeah.
And a relatively butch-looking one. Well, so, you could argue.
I'll tell you this. I saw one of Tammy Pescatelli's bits. It was all making fun of her Italian family and how they're all connected to the mafia and shit.
Nice. Have you ever seen the video of Tig Notaro on Conan?
No.
Where she pulls out her phone randomly?
Nope.
She pulls out her phone. It's the funniest bit. I'll find it and I'll link it to you. But the gist of it is this was after she was diagnosed with breast cancer and had a double mastectomy and all that. And she starts talking about how she decided to live life to her fullest. And then she just pulls out her phone from her pocket and starts staring at it and texting. And goes back and forth between the phone, and then partway through calls the person she's texting.
That is
and has a conversation with them in it.
That is brilliant.
My favorite part is she's on fucking Conan, and the woman she's texting called, I think her girlfriend, or later became her girlfriend or something. And she goes, "Hey, how's it going? What are you up to?" She goes, "Nothing. What about you?" And Tig just goes, "Oh, nothing much." And then Conan's just like fucking doubling over with laughter. The whole thing's great, and I'm not doing justice to it, but it's one of those things I've watched like dozens of times, and it always like hurt. It always, it's up there with shit like Rich Evans trying to explain the plot of Double Down in terms of it will always make me laugh so hard that it hurts.
Okay,
but do we see his ball sack? But do we see his ball sack? Yes, we see his ball sack! Say what you fucking like about fucking Max Landis. He caused Rich Evans to have the funniest fucking nervous breakdown I've ever seen.
Of course, if you want something that'll get me to laugh every single time, I just have to watch Internet Historian's video of Rainforest.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's okay. The short version of that is there was a furry convention held up in Seattle.
Oh, you linked me this one, and then I meant to watch it, and then we had a long-ass conversation after it, and then I couldn't find the link, and then I couldn't remember what it was called, and then I never actually got around to watching it. I will watch this, because
there was a furry convention up in Seattle. It went to shit because of the attendees, and it was so bad that they basically got banned from every hotel chain in Western Washington.
Speaking of cons and things that will always make me laugh, 2 words for you.
What?
Sorry, 1 word for you. DashCon.
Oh, yes. Internet Historian did a video on that one, too.
Even to this day, there is a post about how terrible DashCon was that goes around on Tumblr. There's pictures of the ball pit, the infamous ball pit.
It is Tumblr's everlasting shame.
DashCon was Tumblr's attempt at doing a convention, and Tumblr is mostly full of, teenagers and early 20s, and they had a fucking ball pit there. Just for anyone watching who doesn't know DashCon, they had a ball pit for a con at which no one under 14 or 15 would be attending.
Oh my god.
Oh, DashCon.
Ew.
Oh, DashCon.
It's just... But yeah, we should get back to the plot.
Yeah, I know something else that will make you laugh every time.
What?
There's no reason to ever hit a woman. Bullshit! That Bill Burr bit.
Oh, yes.
I can think of 10 off the top of my head, or however many it is.
Oh.
No, okay. If you ever, you know how the other day you said that I sounded like I was about to die laughing?
Yes.
If you want to ever hear what that's me almost dying of laughter sounds like, sit me down in front of, now it's going to take a while because it has to be the whole thing, but sit me down in front of Richard Pryor, his first comedy film, live in concert.
Wait, you mean special?
Yeah, no film, because it was released to theaters. most of his stand-up specials, as you would call them, were actually released to theaters. They were filmed for theater. Yeah, but just sit me down in front of Richard Pryor live in concert, and I will, no matter what mood I'm in, I will be in physical pain from laughing. You've watched that, right? Have you? Have you watched Richard Pryor live in concert?
I will have to.
It's not necessarily my pick for my absolute favorite.
Dude, if it's funny enough that it can nearly kill you, it has to be hilarious.
It may not. I'm not sure what my favorite stand-up special or movie is, but I know it's the best one. My favorite gag in it, and I'm not going to do justice to it, but there's one where he's talking about he and his wife, or I think later ex-wife, they got into a fight, and she was like, I'm just gonna leave. And so she's gonna get into the car, and he goes, no, you can't do that. So he walks inside and he grabs his Colt 45 and shoots the fucking engine of the car. And it's like, and then the police are coming, and I realize they don't shoot cars, they shoot niggars. It's the greatest fucking thing. There's another bit that's hilarious, and it is him talking about his heart attack. It's like your heart going, you shouldn't have had that pork chop now, should you? Richard Pryor was the funniest fucking guy to ever live, I think.
You're gonna put him funnier than George Carlin?
Much funnier than Carlin. Carlin was great, but Carlin wasn't just quite as funny as him, in my opinion.
Right.
I like Carlin. I went through a huge Carlin phase in high school, and I think I slightly overdid it, and now I kind of have to be in the mood for Carlin.
Well, still, if you're gonna like stand up, you have to know some Carlin. That's just like.
Oh, I've seen every one of his specials 4 or 5 times.
I'm just saying, it's like studying music and not
Yes.
It's like studying.
Yes.
It's like studying music and not knowing Beethoven.
Yeah, but I kind of burnt out on Carlin, whereas not because he's bad or anything, just, whereas I've never burnt out on Stanhope or Hicks or.
You just said you had too much of a good thing with Carlin.
Yeah. Although that said, I went through an even more obsessive Bill Hicks phase, and I can still never get sick of Bill Hicks. What's your favorite Bill Hicks joke?
If you're in advertising, kill yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Mine is him talking about the Gulf War. He goes, but and he says that it wasn't really a war because a war requires 2 armies. Which is, of course, a joke about how fucking pathetic the
Iraqi
quote-unquote Iraq army was.
Yeah.
And the elite Republican Guard. Because we get suddenly the Republican Guard and the not-so-elite Republican Guard.
If he was
the whole Iraq war bit on the album version of Relentless is like my favorite bit of his.
I guarantee if Trump gets us into war with North Korea, and if Hicks was still alive, he'd basically be redoing this bit, but saying that a war. He'd basically redo this bit, but replace all the Iraq references with North Korea.
Yeah. Bill Hicks was just so great, man. I love Bill Hicks. I might have to pull out after this. Might have to pull out my DVD that has some Bill Hicks specials and stick one on.
Yeah, God damn, does it suck that he's dead?
It does. Let me just. I'm looking for it because I'm checking which specials it has on it. There we go. Oh look, Richard Pryor live in concert, and Bill Hicks live. One Night Stand, Relentless, and Revelations. Awesome. I'll stick on Relentless because Relentless is my favorite of his. Right. I love Relentless so much. But back to BoJack, right?
We left off that Beatrice's mother was lobotomized, and it sets up a really funny and dark joke, which is also is a very tragic gut punch at the same time.
Yeah. God, that is good. God, it's a good episode.
So yeah, what happens after that is, well, where it picks up afterwards is it doesn't pick up with BoJack immediately going back to Hollywood. It's called Hollywood because in a previous episode of a previous season, BoJack stole the D off the Hollywood sign, and they've just been calling it Hollywood since then.
No, it's better than that. He steals it from there to try and win over Diane, who's Mr. Peanut Butter's girlfriend.
Yeah, that's basically why, but yeah.
But, by the way, BoJack stealing the D from Hollywood?
Double meaning there, huh?
the innuendo that could be made from that.
Yeah.
He wanted the D. And he thought that stealing the D and presenting it to Diane would make her want the D.
Oh,
His D.
But yeah. Okay, so yeah, BoJack doesn't immediately go back to Hollywood. I mean, like, that's not where it picks up afterward. Where it picks up afterwards is Mr. Peanut is you basically got Todd being tossed everywhere between everyone doing odd jobs for everybody, and how it's wearing him out, and he ends up running into Hollyhock.
Yeah. Let's not go through episode by episode. Just give a broad summary of the rest of sort of what happens in it, eh?
So yeah,
you do that. You're better at giving broad summaries than me. I go into too many details, as we already saw.
Okay, so yeah, so she comes to Hollywood saying she's looking for BoJack. BoJack shows back up, and well, they assume she's his daughter because, well, she's young enough to be his daughter. And and BoJack slept with so many women, it's possible.
Also, I just have to say, within the first scene, Hollyhock became a favorite of mine, where she chloroforms Todd. And she goes, I'm sorry about that, but I bought a chloroform kit. And so, no, I bought this, like, spying kit, and it had chloroform in it, and you just can't have chloroform and not use it.
No, like, I know what you mean.
I love her.
I know what she means, because I gotta... Let me show you something.
Right. Also, Todd's response about how BoJack had one and he mostly used it to chloroform himself was hilarious.
Because of course he would. I mean,
oh, you know what?
I mean,
it's not from this season, but I have to say, speaking of people being knocked out, the second funniest episode of BoJack is the autoerotic asphyxiation episode.
So yeah, where Hollyhock said, like, you can't have chloroform and not use it. I understand what she means, because you guys can't see it, but Sam can. Sam, what does this look like to you?
A big-ass tactical knife.
Yeah, close. It's a survival knife.
Ah, it's a survival knife.
Yeah, I won it in a contest, and let me just say, you can't have a survival knife and not use it to kill something. Because right now there's a...
Who did you kill? Who did you kill?
I'm not
and when are you going to turn yourself into a cop?
I'm not telling you anything,
Wait.
man.
Wait, did you find that rat?
Actually, it might be more of a mouse. But here's the thing: you see, there's a mouse skulking around my house. Did not intend for that to rhyme, by the way. But I've got traps set up, and if I do catch the mouse, I'm gonna.
You're gonna survival knife it. You're gonna go at it with a knife that's 10 times its fucking size. Overkill, dude.
I'm gonna. What, dude? I said you can't have this this beautiful survival knife and not use it to kill something.
I just mean the size is a bit overkill. I mean,
I'm just gonna cut its head off.
I mean, that thing's gonna be like 8 inches fucking long. Just the blade.
I definitely could not get this past the TRS. No, not what? Fuck, the TSA.
The TRS.
This is this is the kind of knife.
What's the right stuff has got to do with anything?
I was gonna say this is the kind of knife you can't get past the TSA.
But you slipped up and said TRS, which is a cool.
I know. I don't know what. They're acronyms that begin with T's.
You got your government agency anachronism confused with your anachronism for a famous white nationalist website. I mean, it happens all the time. Who couldn't do that?
Interesting that it's a government agency primarily staffed by black people.
TSA. Oh, it's a conspiracy. It's that fucking affirmative action.
Yep.
Here we go. What was I gonna say? Shit, bro, what the fuck was I gonna say?
That a survival knife is overkill to kill a mouse.
Yeah, there's something else I was gonna fucking say, but I've forgotten. That survival knife is huge.
Yes.
Like, it looks like it's the size of, like, my forearm, lengthwise.
But yes, like I said, I understand what Hollyhock...
Oh! I was gonna say, I wish I had a good knife. I wish I had a knife.
Then you could...
Even just a pocket knife.
Then you could say, that's not a knife. That's a knife.
I see you've played Knifey Spoony before.
Well, I wish I was... I know, but I was really going more for a Crocodile Dundee reference.
I know you were. But I don't like Crocodile Dundee, whereas I love The Simpsons.
Well, you hate everything from Australia anyway.
Not true. I think snakes are neat.
You have snakes in New Zealand, too.
No, we don't.
Really?
Yes, we don't. It's official policy to kill any snakes that get into the country because they like to eat native animals and shit. There are 2 snakes in New Zealand, and they're sea snakes, and they're in a big ass aquarium.
Well, so the only thing
I think snakes are neat and wallabies are cute, and I thought koalas were cute till I discovered they pissed on everything, and basically all of them have like gonorrhea or chlamydia. I think it's chlamydia they all have, isn't it?
What about platypuses?
Oh, platypuses are cute. I forgot about them.
And kangaroos.
Kangaroos are cool.
And
and tarantulas are cute.
And crocodiles.
I don't like crocodiles, but are you just going to ignore that I said tarantulas are cute? Because everyone else thinks that's freaky.
I have arachnophobia.
Ah. I think some spiders are cute. I don't think all of them are, but like the fluffy kind.
Well, I live in a...
But we'll move on from spiders. Oh, dude, you want to see a really gross animal?
Oh, yeah. What?
Google the giant weta, which is native to New Zealand.
Oh, God.
I'm not gross about insects, but giant wetas, my God, those gross me out.
Okay, so yeah.
Google it.
So yeah, there's good reason to suspect that Hollyhock might be Bojack's daughter and...
Yes. Dude, Google the giant weta now.
Oh, God.
I'm not letting you get out of this.
I am going to regret this, aren't I?
They're huge.
Dante, if you're still listening, am I going to regret looking this up?
Do it. Google image search, and then Google image search the tuatara, because that's the coolest New Zealand animal.
A giant... It looks like a... This looks like a grasshopper.
No, it doesn't. It's way grosser than a grasshopper.
Okay, what's the other one?
Tuatara.
Tuatara.
Which is like the oldest...
How do you spell it?
Tuatara.
T-O-A.
Tua.
T-U-A. Tuatara.
T-A.
Got it.
Yeah. It's like,
It's
I
a
believe
lizard.
it's the most ancient species of lizard in the world.
It looks a bit like a... I want to say an iguana?
Kind of. It looks very prehistoric, doesn't it?
No.
They're really cool looking.
No.
And really cute. And they're really small. They're quite small.
Whoa, it says it has a third eye.
Yeah. They're one of the most ancient living creatures, like species. Still extant. Like almost every other, basically I think every other species, or almost every other species from back then, has either evolved and then gone extinct, or,
Yeah.
has just gone extinct or something.
I would not be surprised to learn that iguanas and tuataras are related.
They could be. It wouldn't surprise me. Iguanas are cool. Iguanas are like friendlier cats in the way they act.
Really?
Yes.
Odd thing to say about a reptile.
Look at, there's so many videos of pet iguanas and they act like cuddly cats.
Yeah, except
And it's
iguana
super cute.
iguana videos are not going to get as many views as cat videos.
No, because people don't like reptiles or lizards enough. Iguanas are adorable. I like reptiles and lizards. Although, newts are even cuter because newts are so small.
Yes, newts are adorable. I will agree that. Anyway.
Which makes me really want to kill all the witches, because fucking Eye of Newt, what the fuck, woman? What the fuck? Newts are too cute to be boiling up their eyes, balls.
Yeah. Anyway, back to BoJack. So, there's reason to suspect that Hollyhock might be BoJack's daughter, and...
Yeah, including DNA match.
Yeah, well, all it says is that they have related DNA.
That's what I mean, is it matches their DNA, because that's all a DNA test will do, is show that you're from the same strain.
Yeah.
Basically.
And
or
I'm trying to remember.
A lot of them will do.
I forget in which order this happens, but they either go looking for Hollyhock's mother, or and then come across Beatrice, or is it the other way around, or does it happen along the way? I can't remember.
The fuck you mom happens in episode 4, so I think they look for Hollyhock's mother first and then visit Beatrice.
So,
or they start looking for Hollyhock.
I'm just trying to remember the order it happened in. They were looking for Hollyhock's mother, and then what did they come across? Beatrice at the nursing home Beatrice is at along the way.
I think BoJack says something like, "You might be better off not knowing who she is."
Oh, no,
and he made some comment about
I think I'm beginning to remember
what Beatrice was like, and then Hollyhock wants to see her. Hollyhock wants to meet her.
Yeah, and then they find out she's got dementia. And BoJack tries to stage an episode of horsing around to get her lucid. It backfires. She has an episode, and he has to basically put her up in his house, which he is not happy about. But Hollyhock seems to take to it pretty well.
Yeah. Also, what is Hollyhock's full name?
Oh God, I'm gonna have to Google it because I guarantee you I don't even remember half of it.
I even just reading it have trouble saying the whole thing. So she says earlier on. No, let's just give the context for this. She was raised by 8 gay dudes in a polyamorous relationship, which is why her name is crazy.
Yeah. Hollyhock, Manheim, Guerrero, Robinson, Zibbersteig, Sung, Fonzarelli, McQuack.
Yeah.
By the way,
I wouldn't know how many takes it took for that actress to be able to get it right.
Yep. By the way, one of the Manheims has 2 N's in it.
Yes.
And I'm wondering.
And we do see the dads, and yes, the one with name Fonzarelli is basically a middle-aged version of the Fonz.
Although I have to wonder, what is the McQuack supposed to be a DuckTales reference?
All I know is the McQuack was a duck and he was a prick.
Yeah, I know. It's just that, you know. Oh wait, no. No wait, the only McQuack in DuckTales is Launchpad.
I never watched DuckTales, so I wouldn't know.
Who knows? Maybe it may or may not be. So, but that's not important. So, okay. So yeah, we find out they're putting up BoJack's mother at his house, and Hollyhock it's kind of basically Hollyhock and BoJack bonding.
Yep.
Especially this one episode.
And Hollyhock drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
That Beatrice makes.
And of course, there's one of the episodes has this really good, really unique visual style to simulate the inside of BoJack's psyche. It gets all sketchy and kind of abstract, and it just shows. Yeah. It basically shows
stupid piece of shit.
Yeah, it basically just shows his whole train of thought.
And it's got his ongoing internal monologue.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's actually a pretty good representation of how a person's train of thought goes, because that's how my thoughts go. It'll start with one thing, and then it just kind of gets derailed by a bunch of other things.
It's very realistic as a portrayal of a person with depression's thought process goes.
Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, like even when I'm not depressed, I mean, like my brain just does that, like kind of just does that on its own. Like I'll be thinking about something and it just trails
Same,
off.
but it's not constantly saying you're a stupid piece of shit and that you're terrible, you know?
Okay,
Which is what Hibbs is doing.
Okay, let me put it this way. Minus the whole "you're a piece of shit" thing. Yeah, that's it. It's a very good portrayal of how a person's train of thought operates. Right, and I just like the whole sketchy animation style that it uses, and this is because
I like that too. And it makes it. Doesn't it show up again in Time's Arrow a little?
I think it was the episode after that, but yes.
No, it shows up in episode 10, doesn't it? Briefly.
It's the
when he finds out about.
I think it's the episode where BoJack goes to track down Hollyhock after her dad's take her home, and
yes, you're right. It is in that one, but it also shows up briefly. I think for like there's one point where it represents something like that in Time's Arrow, but I could be wrong.
Maybe I don't remember that. I don't remember that, but actually, I gotta hit the head. Sam, can you take over for a bit?
What does hit the head mean?
Bathroom.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Where did we get up to again? Shit, now I've got to remember precisely where we got up to. Oh, we got up to stupid piece of shit. Yeah, and then there's the underground thing. And I'm the worst at fuck this. I'm the worst at giving broad overviews of what happened and things, so I'm just going to talk shit for a bit. I'm just going to talk for a bit. How are people? Is anyone watching this? I'm on mobile and thus cannot look at the stream chat. Yeah. I need another person. I can't talk like this by myself. Can't do shit by myself. Wonder what that background noise is. Oh, it'll be TV. I'm not taking over the summarizing anymore. Fuck it. What can I babble about? I mean, I'm bad at this. I need someone to bounce off of. Innuendo. In your innuendo? No, in my endo. No, I kid. Not into that. Not into that. Now you can all see how lame and unfunny I actually am when I don't have Brett to make me look good by comparison. I only wish my Volvo mechanic were as reliable. That's a mission for everyone. Drop that quote, and moths are no more dangerous than ladybugs. Those two Simpsons quotes. Drop them into as many casual conversations out of nowhere as you can. Results are pretty amusing. I hope that screaming is from its TV. Or from someone watching TV in the apartment. I really do. I think there's someone getting brutally murdered in the background that I'm hearing. That would not be good. I'm just bombing. I'm just Insert car crashing sound effect from Opie and Anthony here. I'm bad at sound effects. I am not a human sound effect generator like that fucking cunt from Police Academy. Police Academy, that's some fucking terrible shit, by the way. Fuck Police Academy. I know some people defend the first Police Academy movie, but it's actually pretty shit. So, fuck Police Academy. I don't hear any more screaming, so I assume it was TV. I can't do this. I am shit. I am not good on my own. Just babbling. It's taking him so long.
Okay, so
I hope that screaming that I heard was from the TV. That woman screaming.
it was.
And I heard
It was my roommate
right.
watching a movie in the other room, and the walls are kind of thin.
Right, well, I realized that I actually couldn't take over the summation of shit, because I wasn't entirely sure where you'd left it off, because we left on a bit of a detour.
Right.
And so I floundered and randomly babbled, and I am terrible at this on my own. So,
so where I remember leaving off was...
You're good at broad summation. I'm not. I got a fucking pee too, so I'll be back in a minute.
I'll keep it up. I remember where I left off. I left off with BoJack and Hollyhock bonding, and well, what comes up after this is Hollyhock sort of has this. How do I put it? She sort of has this this drug overdose. She wasn't doing anything, but she ends up having to go to the ER, and BoJack gets blamed for it. And at first he thinks, okay, maybe this is my fault. I might have left something out that she could have gotten into, and I wasn't being responsible. But then BoJack finds out that his mother was slipping in this weight loss powder into Hollyhock's coffee. Hollyhock's coffee, I meant. And that's what was making her sick, because she was putting so much of it in. Yeah.
I think it wasn't just a weight loss powder. I think it was a weight suppressant thing specifically.
Yeah, because also another thing is Hollyhock has kind of body issues.
Yes, and yeah, I thought, because there's the episode where she kind of refers to herself as a blob, and then you don't see her eat the whole episode, and BoJack offers her ice cream and she says no thanks, and I thought this was gearing up to a reveal that she had an eating disorder.
Yeah.
But it was actually a reveal that she's been drugged with an appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it must be a pretty strong one, because they initially thought, because the doctor thought she'd overdosed on amphetamines. And amphetamines, of course, work as a weight suppressant. So it might be one that has something that is chemically quite similar to...
That's possible. And
amphetamines.
And to be fair, I mean, she's not super fat, but she is a little on the chunky side. Well,
yes,
chubby.
And I did say pay close attention to her appearance, because she actually does noticeably slim down, very slim, over the course of the thing.
Yeah, she's a little on the chubby side, but still, still kind of cute. Yeah, she's a little chubby, but we can work with it. I mean, we've all come across that one chick who's a little chubby, but it's not that bad.
Yes. She's an anthro horse. Better stop before we get accused of being furries.
No, yeah, just want to... Oh, come on. Cute is cute, alright?
No, she's cute, but adorable cute, not
Yeah.
I want to bang them cute.
Yes.
She is, by the standards of anthro animals in that show, attractive. I still don't find anthros attractive. I'm not a fur fag.
Yeah, me neither. Totally not. No.
You realize the way in which you said that made it sound like you were one.
That's
And that was the
point.
joke.
Yep.
That was the joke. And I just autistically... I was halfway through saying what I said, and then I realized, oh, I'm an autistic ass. That was the joke, but I couldn't stop myself.
Although, to be fair, I've actually read enough comic books where they've actually managed to make some anthropomorphic animal chicks actually seem attractive and bangable.
Brett's a fur fag! Guess him! Now that's got to be clipped out, me screaming Brett's a fur fag. Fur fag, gas him.
Yeah.
Dude, this is going to be our looked up naked kids in a bathtub, isn't it? Where it's going to be like kids, it's going to keep being brought up, and then you're going to end up admitting that you are in fact a furry because no one's going to leave you alone over it.
Yup, and
For those who don't know, look up Mr. Medica's latest saga, the bathtub something.
In fact, I'll end up having a whole lolcow thread on Kiwi farms dedicated to me.
Oh man, that was I keep forgetting to read that thread. I need to.
Well, the thread I sent you was the one for Maddox.
Okay. No, I just mean because it's linked under Medica's videos, and Medica's videos were the funniest fucking thing.
Oh yeah, but yeah.
By the way, my tears are not CNN tears. That's not a lady. That's a stupid cunt. Call me bitch one more time. Okay, bitch. Mr. Medica is just the best.
Jim is
fucking Ruby.
Jim is so
Ruby the Hole was this close to being the real lolcow in the situation.
Yeah.
And then was his name
Ross.
Jonathan?
Ross.
Ross. And then Ross tried to commit suicide on live stream by drinking Febreze and just got a case of the shits.
Yup.
Febreze isn't even a brand sold in New Zealand as far as I know, and even I don't like fucking kill you. He thought it was bleach. He thought it had bleach in it, I think.
Febreze is an odorizer.
Yes, and I think he thought it contained bleach, and that was why it would kill him, because his autistic, retarded brain went cleaning product, bleach.
It's not
deadly.
a cleaning product. It's something you spray to make things smell nice. Although,
yes, but I
oh wait,
think he probably
although there is a Febreze that I think is also a laundry detergent.
Actually, dude, remember he admitted that he stopped wearing pull-ups at 12?
Oh shit.
That's where the Febreze connection comes in. He must just have gotten the habit of having Febreze with him everywhere, so whenever he shat himself, he could just spray Febreze around.
Mate, that makes way too much sense. Although you couldn't, the stuff you would have to drink would have to be the laundry detergent. You can't drink the air spray because it's in a pressurized can.
Yeah, but even that isn't fatal.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying this. He would have had to have drank the laundry detergent.
Yeah. And I think that's why he thought it would kill him, because he thought it's a detergent, so it'll have bleach or something. Most detergents won't kill you if you drink them.
They'll just make you sick.
You shouldn't drink them.
They'll make you sick.
Because they'll make you seriously sick. But very few detergents will kill you. I believe this even goes for dishwashing detergent.
Yeah, it's just like, in fact, that maybe back in the 50s they might have, but
yeah, because they probably had bleach and all sorts of fucky chemicals in them back then, but not really now.
Yeah, now all these companies are eco-responsible and child-safe.
That said, look on the warnings. Don't just assume you can prank your friends by by drinking cleaning product and surviving and having them all panic and freak out.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? The funny thing is there is this one eco-friendly dishwashing detergent brand in New Zealand that I get. And I get it because it is like 10 times better than any other one that I've tried, any other product, and it lasts longer. So sometimes those eco-friendly cleaning products are actually legit.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah. So we got to Hollyhock. She has like an overdose from an appetite suppressant.
Yeah. Called Chub Be Gone.
And we discussed that she has some body issues, even though she still looks reasonably cute.
Yeah, she's. Yeah.
Reasonably cute in the way you'll say, my sister's cute.
Yes. Also, we have totally. Have you mentioned the Clientists?
Oh yes, Todd's latest hairbrain.
My favorite Todd hairbrain scheme.
Yeah.
Clown dentists.
Yeah, this is a kind of a thing.
Because kids love clowns,
after season
and it will
2,
make them love dentists.
Yeah,
is his logic.
Wait, does the rock opera count? I'm trying to remember.
Yes, that's a hairbrain. That's not a hairbrain scheme to get money, but it's a weird hairbrain kind of idea. So it kind of counts.
It's a hairbrain. Okay, every season Todd has a hairbrained idea, basically.
Yeah, I gotta say, that was a really bad rock opera. To be fair,
really,
BoJack was still shitty and sabotaging it, but it was not good.
Even in the context of the show.
Well, I don't know. Just. Oh, by the way, you know the BoJack Horseman soundtrack's out now.
Really?
And that means you can hear the entirety of Get That Fetus, Kill That Fetus without Diane talking over half of it.
Oh my god.
And it is the funniest thing. Now you can hear all the lyrics, and that is the funniest thing.
Okay, I have to look that up. But yeah, so yeah, season 1, Todd has his rock opera. Season 2, he has, what does he do season 2?
Was season 2 the Spaghetti Strayers?
I think that was season
The Colanders?
No, I think that was
season 3 was the Colanders.
Actually, season
I can't
3 was
remember what season 3 was.
Actually, I think season 3... No, season 2 was his theme park.
Yeah, oh yes!
Yes, he tried making a budget Disneyland.
Yeah.
And
I love the Halloween in January.
Oh yes, also that. He also
and there's like no floor in there, so someone walks out and falls and gets stuck.
Andrew Garfield walks
yes.
in.
Now I don't know if you've noticed this, but you know when Ralph calls Princess Carolyn,
yeah,
and Ruthie, and he's got the board of ideas for their new holiday day, new holiday to create. At the bottom is written Halloween in January, and then it's crossed out and has written next to it, already been done.
Yes.
One of them is Arbor Day 2, also.
Okay, so yeah. He has Halloween in January and his theme park. Season 2, he has that.
Oh, dude, we skipped over Ruthie.
Oh yeah, Ruthie. Yes, because there's also Princess Carolyn's subplot where she and her boyfriend, who is a mouse,
are trying to conceive, and she is
a little. She's not menopausal. She is very nearly.
Her fertility is very bad. Yeah. And
it does not look
good. At the beginning of the season, she gets pregnant, and then in the first episode, she gets pregnant and miscarries. And then in this one, they try, and she has another miscarriage. But at this one, it ends with her, she's going self-destructive and breaking up with him and firing her
assistant.
But the way in which it's done, it's one of the best episodes in the show, and it's one of the biggest gut punches, because it starts with that hoary old chestnut of the sort of future grandchild or whatever, telling the story of them, and it's like, oh, this is the story of her bad day, but everything works out, and then you go, how's this going to work out? How's this going to work out? And the end scene is BoJack calling her to complain about his shitty day. And she goes, you know what I do when I have a really bad day? I imagine, my grandchild in the future telling the story about me. It's like, oh. And BoJack's replies, but it's fake. It's like, oh, my heart! Oh! Actually, interestingly enough, looking at fan responses, Ruthie seems to be the episode that crushed the most fan souls.
It's good. Oh yeah, it's just that's the kind of show BoJack is. It just when you think it's giving you some hope, and it then just takes it away from you and smashes it like that.
And more to the point,
like that.
Just when you think it's gonna give you a lame, cheesy trope, it subverts it and breaks your fucking heart.
Yeah.
Although that said, the Misakari jokes were amazing.
Yeah.
There's basically, she's at the restaurant with her boyfriend that doesn't want to tell him she had a miscarriage. And it's an Italian restaurant, and the Italian waiter is introducing him. It's like, Misakari Underwood, Misakari. It's like a bunch of Misakari, first name Mariah.
So
really funny.
So subtle.
Dude, that clip is up on YouTube now. Someone posted it, and there was someone who commented, I actually didn't get those jokes the first time I watched the episode. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
They went over my head.
I don't get it. Like I said, it's not that subtle a joke.
I know, that's what's so funny about someone not getting it. It's a great gag, but it is, yeah.
Grant, yeah, no doubt.
You're scared.
No doubt.
Oh, no, it's not a video of just that. It's a video that's a compilation of all the tongue twister?
Tongue twister?
The tongue twister pun bits in the show to date, and it's pretty gold. What's funny is it's about 4.5 minutes. Half of the runtime is all just stuff from season 4. So they amped it up big time for this season for the pun.
I guarantee you this is going to be Amy Sedaris' least favorite season.
Oh, until next season where every scene she's in has a tongue twister.
It's amazing. I'll be amazed if for that reason alone it doesn't make her quit.
Do you remember the guys at Commie in season 1, BoJack?
Yeah.
Something my salami, the guys at Commie. No, we'll pull on my salami, the guys at Commie. I think it is.
Okay, so yeah, Princess Carolyn's personal life basically just kind of fizzles, just kind of self-destructs completely.
Yeah. And Diane and Peanut Butter are having massive marital issues from the fact that he's basically running from his, have ongoing massive marital issues that get worse this season, and we're not at the end of them. We'll get them soon.
And still with BoJack, we get to Times Arrow, and holy hell!
Times Arrow? No, let's just finish it. BoJack takes his mother before Times Arrow. Oh no, you're right. Ruthie is BoJack. Ends with BoJack. No, Ruthie doesn't end with BoJack. Episode 10, sorry, ends with BoJack in the car with his mother, and then he takes her to a shitty rest home, asks for the worst room, sticks her in there.
And then she just says BoJack, and then he stops.
Yeah. And then the second episode is the events of that episode from the point of view of Beatrice's dementia-addled mind, basically.
Yeah.
And it's sort of flashbacks of stuff And it's brilliant in how it represents dementia, because you have faces of people in the background that are blank, and you have one person whose face is scribbled out, and you have events that are exaggerated because of how they felt to her at the time. And it's brilliant, and it's really powerful, and it's something that really just by nature, summing it up is kind of pointless. So we'll just say it explains her how she is and why she is a toxic, terrible person without saying, but it makes everything she does okay. It basically just explains her and asks you to empathize. And then it ends with the dissolving into the reality because she's lucid again. And her saying, Bojack? And then Bojack not bringing himself to be able to say fuck you to her, and instead lying to her. She asks where they are, and he lies to her and says they're in Michigan. They're sitting outside, the weather's lovely, and they're eating ice cream.
The way I kind of interpreted that
Can you taste the ice cream? She says, yes, I can. She's never eaten ice cream because her father said ice cream isn't for girls. You can have a lemon and sugar. That's a good thing for girls. Which, by the way, has another sort of potential symbolism thing as something sour pretending to be sweet.
Oh, yeah.
With Beatrice kind of has a bit of going on at times, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah, I didn't catch on that, but now that I see it, yeah, it's kind of hard not to catch that, but yeah, it's very fitting.
Am I right in guessing that, the lawns are being mowed, so that's what the noise outside is. Am I right in guessing that when you said this season made you weep, you are referring to the scene that I just described at the end of Time's Arrow?
Yeah.
Would that be correct?
Kind of, but yeah, the thing I want to say is that the way I sort of interpreted the last scene with Bojack and Beatrice was that was basically Bojack forgiving her. It's maybe not forgiving, but it's him realizing that he has to move on from it and that he can't just continue. Well, I mean, like,
he has to move on from it. It's him moving on from it, and I don't know that I wouldn't say forgiving her, but he's moving on from it, and he's matured enough to know that there is no point in saying fuck you, that all he can really do is be the bigger man, move above it, and offer her some comfort, so to speak. And that, or rather, not be the bigger man, but that's him finally breaking free of the cycle of abuse of the horsemans and the sugar man sort of cycle of abuse, so to speak. That's him breaking free of it. Is him deciding that no, he can't, that it won't help, and that
something worth. It's easy to see that his mother sort of is kind of responsible for that, but man, is the reason why his dad is such a toxic person is just because he failed to live up to his dreams or something?
I don't know. He's kind of a pretentious douchebag from the beginning, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's interesting, but then you have the reveal that sort of in the next episode. You kind of have it in this episode, but one of the things that you find out is that Bojack was fucking. Bojack's dad was fucking the maid Henrietta.
Yeah. And
it turns out that Hollyhock is actually Bojack's half sister, not his daughter, which I liked as a reveal. Some people didn't like that. I liked it.
I was a little taken aback by it at first, but then I decided, you know what, I'm okay with it.
I didn't see it coming, but it actually worked even better from a thematic standpoint than the other way. To me.
Even if it's weird that there's like a 35-year difference between them, and yes, I did the math.
Yeah, there is, but again, that's because of, as you see, Bojack's moved out and he's done horsing around,
Well, not just that, I mean, like, it's Bojack...
I know, it's just...
Bojack's age...
You see where it
Bojack's
fits in the timeline.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Bojack's age is 52, and if Hollyhock is supposed to be 17, he was 35 when she was born.
Yes, and we see this. Also, her not being his daughter sets up the sweetest moment in the show, period.
Yeah.
And one of the sweetest moments in any show, really. Which we'll get to.
Yes, we will.
But yeah, so
And I asked Sam this at first, like, who was worse, Butterscotch or Joseph, who was Bojack's grandfather, and
the answer is Joseph, because even though Butterscotch is sort of suggested to have occasionally been physically abusive, at least he never fucking had his wife fucking lobotomized.
yeah, I mean, like, the worst thing Butterscotch was guilty of, as far as we know, was just being a deadbeat.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's one scene where it shows in the background them having a fight that escalates into him shoving Beatrice. So, you know, that's what we see, you know. He's far better than Joseph Sugarman.
But not by much.
Well, he didn't. God.
I know. Look, I know.
It says a lot about the show that we're weighing up which character is worse and whether they lobotomize their wife is an actual thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's an actual point thing. Well, at least he didn't lobotomize his wife.
Yeah. Like I said.
Sorry, his daughter, not his wife. What am I talking about? She was his daughter, not his wife.
No, it wasn't.
No, she was his wife. What am I talking about? There was some people who got confused and thought that Yeah, no. Sorry.
Yeah.
That noise is really loud. Sorry.
But yeah, Butterscotch is better than Joseph, but not by much.
No. Here's your typical deadbeat piece of shit. And Joseph is a piece of shit who fucking lobotomized his wife. There is a meme that's just a picture of Joseph Sugarman and it's got "fuck this guy" written over it. It's like, yep.
Yeah.
And actually, I joined a season 4 BoJack Horseman discussion, specifically season 4 at the moment, Discord, and there is someone in there who actually does want to fuck him.
Oh my.
Fucking fur fags. Fucking fur fags.
Oh, it gets better.
Gas and Fury.
It gets better. They think Bojack is bi.
Oh yes, and they ship him in peanut butter. These are different people, but they ship him in Mr. Peanut Butter. Some people in there,
and they also
and some of them are claiming Princess Carolyn is a lesbian and Diane is bi, and Princess Carolyn and Diane should end up together. And
they also think Hollyhock is a lesbian. And
by the way, reminder that BoJack does explicitly say he is straight at one point in the show.
Yeah.
It is canon that BoJack is heterosexual.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doggy, what now? Doggy, what now is hilarious, and there are some people who do not think it is funny, and fuck them. Also, frack me, Mr. Peanut Butter.
Yep. And also, I mean, Todd coming out as asexual now. I got my own thing with aces, but you know what? I mean, like, it's at least better than us finding out that Todd was gay instead.
Oh, well, that would have been cliche as well.
Yeah. But we can. Todd's kind of too immature. I think Todd's too immature to have a committed relationship anyway.
Yes. I think the reason he is asexual insofar as he is sort of still very childlike in mind, and
yeah, like,
you know,
he's like a 12-year-old boy in like a mid-20s man's body.
Yes. So of course he has no interest in sex.
Yeah. I think. I mean, actually, are you interested? Do you start getting interested in girls when you're 12 or 13? I can't remember.
Depends on the person.
I think in most people's cases, I mean, I think on average, it's really hits when you're 14.
You start getting interested in girls when you're 10, 11, 12, but not in a sexual way.
Yeah.
So 13, 14 when you're in a sexual way.
Okay, yeah, it's I think it's fair to say, yeah, that's about right. Todd's basically a 12-year-old boy in a 20-year-old man's body.
Yeah. And it's why everyone in the fandom likes him. Because you just can't hate him. You just can't dislike him. He's
immature, but he's endearing.
Yeah, he's very much the sort of cinnamon roll trope, you know.
You're gonna have to explain.
Please tell me you know that trope.
Cinnamon roll.
You've never. It's kind of a There was an Onion article that had the headline, "Beautiful cinnamon roll, too good for this world, too pure," and it was just a picture of a cinnamon roll, and that became a meme. Was like, a cinnamon roll is a thing you refer to a character who is, you know, really sweet and kind and good.
Oh yeah. Also Hollyhock.
Yes, Hollyhock is the true cinnamon roll. Hollyhock is the true cinnamon roll in the show.
Hollyhock is the fresh baked cinnamon roll.
And
which is the best
which is
the best cinnamon roll.
Yes, for sure. Because those things get stale pretty fast. They're like baguettes where like they're great for a few hours and then they get stale. And they get stale like that. And like a lot of pastries. But as I was saying and Bojack's the problematic fave.
The problematic what?
Fave. He's your favorite.
Oh.
But boy, is he flawed.
Yeah. That's about
he's a character you love, but is flawed. So is Diane. Diane is a problematic fave as well. I love Diane. Yeah. Diane, Bojack, and Hollyhock are my three favorites. But
yes. And I guess we've sort of talked enough about leading up to the sweet moment, so we should probably drop that.
Yes, so the end of the episode, Hollyhock calls. No, we haven't, because we haven't fucking talked about the gut punch in season 11.
Yes, that's
so
right.
Diane and Peanut Butter go on a holiday.
Yeah.
And she says, and basically, she says something about how when she was young, she dreamed about having a Belle room, which was a big library like Belle and Beauty and the Beast had.
Mm-hmm.
And they get back and, well, what do you know? Miss Peanut Butter, showing that he doesn't understand Diane at all, has done another big gesture for her. He gives her a lot of big gestures throughout the show, and she never likes them because she's not comfortable with big gestures, and she's also someone who kind of is very uncomfortable when dreams become reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he also doesn't understand it because he recreates the library from Beauty and the Beast, which isn't what she meant, and filled it with fake books.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the scene where she's... What is it? A magic eye thing?
Yeah, that's right.
What did she compare the marriage to?
It's this sort of magic eye, I want to say poster, where
Yeah.
it looks like a bunch of random images or colors just put together, but when you step back at it or look at it the right way, you actually see the image that's supposed to be there.
Yeah, and she says that's what their marriage is like. It's beautiful when it's like, and there's moments where it's beautiful, you know, if you squint at it, and she says, and she just breaks down and says, but I'm so tired of squinting. And that's kind of where that leaves off, which is a hell of a gut punch, by the way. Yeah. That's such a great scene.
And this will lead into where we think season 5 is going to go, which we'll get to soon enough.
But we're not finished. But, well, once we finish the narrative of this, we've got to talk about what everything does so well and themes and all that. And how fucking long have we been running this already?
Almost 2 hours.
This is going to be like 5 fucking hours long.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Right, yes, then we get a scene where Hollyhock calls Bojack from
Minnesota.
the airport, and she has...
Yeah, I think she's in
she has... I don't know, but she's in an airport, it doesn't matter where. And she's going to go visit her birth mother, with whom she's been in contact with. Because Bojack found her and gave the details to her dad's, and she found out. And they have a conversation, and he's like, there she goes. And it kind of ends with he's trying to do stuff for her, and she goes, I don't need you to do things for me. I'm fine. I don't need a dad. I've got 8 dads. And she says, I've never had a brother before, though. And then it ends on that note, and it ends on the note of Bojack finally smiling.
Oh man, the feels.
It is. It's the sweetest moment. Like, it's like, oh.
And it's without.
So Bojack is a master at the mood whiplash.
And without it being saccharine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's where the mood whiplash thing comes in.
It
Part of the
actually
thing
earns
that
it.
avoided it being saccharine was the fact that it came right from the gut punch of "I'm so tired of squinting."
Yeah, it's just like I mean, seriously, the BoJack Horseman's like a crash course on how to write emotional material.
It's a crash course on how to balance tone.
Yeah.
And how to get tones exactly right. Yeah. Because I can't think of a moment where it's gone for a gut punch and it's come off as,
It's basically earned every moment it's gotten.
Not felt true.
Every moment it goes for, it earns it.
Yeah, and it always feels true. I mean,
it never feels cheap. It never feels forced.
I mean, look at That's Too Much, Man in season 3.
Yeah.
That episode in the hands of lesser writers could so easily have been terrible and cliched, and it's not. It's fucking great. I think I'm still impressed by the fact that BoJack Horseman was able to take the phrase "I wanted to be an architect" and make it depressing.
Yeah. I was gonna say also, I think it shows that the writers also know, they kind of know when to pull back. Like, they never...
Yeah.
Like, even when they've earned it, they don't, like, try to... What's the word? You know, like how when some writers, right when they capture the moment they're going for, they sort of milk it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, overall I don't think it's a good movie, but sort of my ultimate example of a scene where something that they're going for feels and it becomes so overwrought that it becomes hilarious is in Schindler's List. You know, when he breaks down and goes, "They're gonna save me!" I started laughing when I watched Schindler's List at that point.
Yeah.
Not the only time, actually. Just Schindler's List is only a great movie if you see it as comedy because it's so overwrought. That's my view. Yeah, but that scene is particularly overwrought.
I think it might be down to... I think Steven Spielberg got a little too personally involved with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, also the historical inaccuracy of it is hilarious.
Yeah, but there's also, I remember hearing something that it was actually very harrowing for him emotionally to make.
Probably. I don't know, I've never been a fan of that movie.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, like, I think it might have just been that he was that he got too close to it.
I don't know.
But yeah, but where's BoJack?
It's kind of propaganda. It kind of reads like anti-German propaganda in a way. As well, but hey.
Yeah,
there are some great performances in it, and the music is great. But yes.
But yeah, but with BoJack, I mean, the writers know when they gotta pull back.
Yeah, no, you're right. They do. They know how to balance tone. They know how to get the sweet spot.
Yeah,
so
know when to go to make you laugh, know when to make you cry, and know how much of it to give you.
Yeah. You're right. BoJack Horseman is great writing. It's probably there could certainly be a case made for it as the best written show currently being made, at least in America.
Yeah, and I would not argue against that. It's hard to find a show that's better written, even though I love Rick and Morty more than BoJack.
That's just because it's more your sensibilities than BoJack is.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Rick and Morty's way more out there. It's more zany. It's arguably a bit more off the wall.
Yeah, and BoJack is more my sensibilities.
It's more,
it's moodier and it's more thoughtful and it's
more down to earth.
The comedy in it is more satirical.
Yeah.
In nature.
Yeah, it's
quite crazy comedy as well. It's got zaniness as well, but it's satirical zaniness.
Yeah. But yeah, I think what really helps the comedy really work is just how grounded and down to earth the show is.
Yeah. BoJack is BoJack is top three cartoon series that aren't anime for me. You can probably guess what the other two are. I mean, you know what my number one is, and you probably can guess what my number two is as well.
Rick and Morty?
No, Rick and Morty is not in the top three.
Okay, then.
Top three American shows, cartoons of all time. There's BoJack Horseman is my number three.
The Simpsons.
Yeah, Simpsons is my number one. Yeah, and I'm sure you... Come on. Guessing my number two cannot be hard.
Okay,
Guessing my number two cannot be hard. Holy shit. Yes, it's Daria. Of course it's fucking Daria.
How'd you go?
And Daria's another one that's got a lot of emotional realism that's grounded in. And comedy comes from that. And the same with The Simpsons, too.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, BoJack being so well grounded is what helps make it work.
Yeah. Off topic, but did you start watching? But speaking of comedy, did you start watching The Toast of London yet?
Oh man, no, not yet. I've been busy with my next werewolf vid.
I'm curious what an American will think of it, because there's a lot of stuff in it that's hysterically funny to me, but I don't know that someone who's more cut off from British culture and like pop culture and entertainment will. Well,
dude, I mean, I've watched shows like Blackadder, Red Dwarf, and IT Crud, and I liked those, but.
Yeah, but like, no, you'll find it.
You're making it sound like this is very British.
No, it is. It kind of is. Now, I'm not saying you won't get the comedy, but there's stuff like a character goes to a plastic surgeon, and the plastic surgery leaves her looking like Bruce Forsyth. And if you don't know who Bruce Forsyth is, you're not going to completely get the joke.
Okay, so
do you know who Bruce Forsyth was?
I feel like the name is familiar, but I can't place it.
He was a British entertainer. He died very recently. Bruce Forsyth.
Actually, I think I know where I think I saw him in an episode of The Muppets.
Oh, really? Okay. But he was one of those famous sort of great British entertainers who had TV shows. He was actually great. He was. And as far as I know, unlike fucking what's his name, he wasn't a pedo.
Gary Coleman? No, not Gary Coleman.
No.
What's his name? Shit, what's his name?
No, not Gary Glitter, the other dude.
Although Gary Glitter was a pedo.
Yes. No, the children's entertainment dude who turned out to be a massive pedo.
Although that seems to be a running theme with a lot of beloved British television personalities.
Yes, they turned out to be pedophiles. Oh dear. I'm blanking on the name, but
yeah, but okay, but yeah, what helps BoJack really work is that it's got grounded and down to earth humor.
Yeah.
And even though, I'm amazed they managed to make BoJack such a relatable character. Even though he's like this, what's the word? Even though he's like a Hollywood star, he's still a very relatable character. He's still someone you can find yourself relating to.
Yeah, and they also made him a very flawed person, but without being flawed to the degree where you hate him and can't relate to him at all. Like, you may hate him at times, but you can't hate him overall because he's too relatable and you see yourself in him. At least most people do.
And I think plenty of times you can see that he genuinely does want to change. He's just too stubborn or proud or...
He's stuck in his ways and he doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
He wants to change, but he doesn't know how to change. And he doesn't know how to even start it, let alone actually make changes.
And it's also fairly certain that he's too proud to ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah. So we should probably start discussing the themes of this season.
Yeah, I was going to say we should start talking about the stuff that we loved and what it didn't. And I'm just going, we've already gone for fucking 2 hours. It's like, my God, I don't know how much longer I can talk, even though it's something there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think we'd have to agree that Holly Hawk is probably she's a really good upgrade for the character.
She's a highlight. I mean, by the end of the first episode with her in, she was out there with Diane and BoJack as my favorite character. Tied for my favorite character in BoJack Horseman.
Yeah. Todd had an interesting take for his personal arc.
Yeah. And the Clentus thing was hilarious. Yeah. And I like the note it ends on with that girl Yolanda. She seemed nice.
Yep.
I hope he does go on that date. It'd be good for him.
Yeah, it would be. It's probably a foregone conclusion that Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter's marriage is going to fall apart because Mr. Peanut Butter's had 2 failed marriages already. And
she's going to not cope well, and he's going to bounce back pretty quickly.
Because he always does.
Because he's simple. I mean, there is another theory that he's going to kill himself as a theory some people have had, but I'm like, nah. I don't think BoJack is actually going to go to suicide.
I don't think
that
time was accidental.
That was a asphyxiation thing?
Yeah, that was by accident.
Yeah, that wasn't like intentional suicide. I don't think BoJack Horseman would have one of its characters kill themselves. I think where BoJack Horseman is heading is for the characters to eventually be in better places, but like realistically struggle to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that season 5 is...
And that's good, because that's much more rewarding than Grimdark. And Grimdark has to be done perfectly to not be shitty, I mean, like, it has to be, like, technolized quality, and very little is that quality, and technolizes Grimdark, and it pulls it off.
Yeah, or Berserk. Berserk is definitely Grimdark. I've only seen the original anime, so I can only comment on the first story arc of Berserk. Yeah, well, can you honestly tell me that was not Grimdark?
No, it was. I can't comment on how well anything beyond that was executed. Yeah. Is all. Because I know there are some people who feel like when it brought in more of the high fantasy elements, it wasn't as good.
I would say.
I don't know.
I would say it probably hasn't. I would say it probably hasn't gotten as harrowing as it used to be.
Right. I don't know again because I am just basing it off of the story arc covered in the original anime.
Okay, so yeah, that's probably not the best example to use, but yeah, but yeah, I'm thinking that season 5, like they're gonna have that show on that streaming service.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that's something that I love is how it ends with BoJack helping Princess Carolyn.
Yeah, and
he takes the role because she needs it. She needs him to help her. She needs to be getting back to work and all that,
Yeah. And
he does it to help her, and so he's helping her. And he looks at it and he seems to think it's a pretty bad script based on the little that he's read, which is more than anyone else seems to have read of it. Yeah. Even Princess Carolyn doesn't seem to have read the script.
Beyond the title.
Yeah. I think you're right. That show's going to be being filmed. I think Hollyhock is going to phone in every now and then, but I don't think she's going to
be a recurring character at most.
Yeah, she's going to be a recurring character. I think she'll probably call in once or twice in the season, but I don't think she'll show up in person for another season or 2.
Yeah, I mean, but with the BoJack though, I think what's gonna happen is this is gonna be finally the season he finally gets sober, and I guarantee.
I hope so. Yeah,
it's probably
it'd be nice.
I think what's gonna happen is he's gonna have he'll probably get drunk one night, and he'll have like some sort of accident, and
I think
he'll have to attend court-ordered Alcoholics Anonymous, and this.
I actually think that's an interesting theory. My theory is more something along the lines of he and Diane are going to get really, really, really trashed and do something like while she's going through divorce proceedings, and they're going to do something stupid, and he's going to realize, oh shit.
But the way this is playing out in my head is like BoJack's in the courtroom, and his internal monologue is, oh, for God's sake, please do not put me in AA. Do not put me in AA. Please do not put me in AA. I will do community service. Just do not put me in AA. And then the judge says, I'm ordering you to attend court-ordered Alcoholics Anonymous, and he says, God damn it.
It'd be funny if that happened and they used the one fuck per season for that.
Yeah.
Here's my prediction. Here's my prediction for the end of the show. Whenever the end game is, the fuck in the last season will be reserved for Honeydew. They will say, fuck Honeydew. And that'll be like the last line of it.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a perfect...
Honeydew deserves that.
That would be the perfect way to end. Honeydew is a... All melons suck, but honeydew is the worst melon. I like cantaloupe and watermelon.
Well, fuck you. Watermelon is simultaneously too watery and too sweet.
You have to get the right watermelon.
I've had what was supposedly the right watermelon, and what everyone said was delicious. I hated it. It's like pineapple. People go, oh, that's so delicious. I'm like, I'm about to puke. It's so sickly sweet. What the fuck is wrong with you, cunts?
Pineapple.
Oh, pineapple. Oh, I'm getting sick just thinking about it.
Well, then again, you're so bitter and sour, it's no wonder you hate it.
Oh, you love me, really? Admit it, Brett, you're secretly gay and in love with me?
I do not date Anglos.
You're secretly gay and in love with me, just like Bojack is secretly bi and in love with Mr. Peanut Butter. That is to say, not at all. By the way, if Bojack and Peanut Butter got together, I would stop watching the show.
Yeah, that would. Could you call that a shark jump?
Yes. Yes, you could. You could certainly call that jumping the shark. Just like I've stopped watching Doctor Who because they've gone with a fucking woman doctor. I'm like, nope.
That'll be fair. I think the show jumped the shark way before that.
Doctor Who? Oh, depends. It's always had periods where it's been shit and periods where it's been good. Season 9 was very good.
Was that with Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi?
That was the second season of Capaldi. Capaldi's first season was very badly written, but he was great in it. And then season 9 was pretty great for the writing, and he was amazing in it.
All right.
Although he is his best role, the show that he is best in is still The Thick of It.
Yes, the show where
Malcolm Tucker will always be his defining show, in my view. Have you watched The Thick of It?
I know the clips. It's the show where Peter Capaldi swears more than a drunken longshoreman and a drunken sailor in a.
You've got to watch The Thick of It. It is the greatest. Not just the greatest political satire TV show ever, but the greatest political TV show ever.
Really?
Seriously. It's top 10 shows of the 2000s, I would say, easily.
Interesting. Okay.
At least live action shows.
Yeah.
It is so good. And yeah, he's one of the best characters as Malcolm Tucker. Him and Peter Mannion, who's played by Roger Allam, are the two best characters in it.
Okay, as for Todd in season 5, he's probably just going to come up with another harebrained scheme.
Yeah, and probably go on a few dates with that Yolanda chick.
And Princess Carolyn?
She's going to look into adopting and is going to start adoption procedures at the end of the thing. Because, again, Bojack brought that up and she said, well, I've been thought about it. And he kind of suggests it as a good idea in the way he brings it up. So,
as well as trying.
And I think he will be emotional support for him with that. He'll be emotional support for her with that. And emotional support for Diane during the breakup. And he's going to realize, oh, here's another way he might sober up.
Yeah.
Diane gets super trashed, and he realizes how much Diane is like how he used to be, and realizes that he has a drinking problem because of how she's acting. Right? You get what I mean?
You know, now that I think about it, it would feel as funny as it would be to see Bojack be forced to go to AA. At this point, it would also feel kind of forced and cheap because, like, Bojack's made so much progress. Why would he relapse into behavior that destructive this quickly?
Yeah, although he's shown still drinking a lot at the end of the
True.
The show.
Yeah, I suppose there is a precedent.
Well, he's drinking a lot while he's talking to Hollyhock at the end.
Yeah. So it probably could go either way.
Yeah.
As long as, but you know what? As long as either one is done well, which I have no doubt it will be, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Although if I had to have a preference, I would like to see BoJack be forced to go to AA.
I don't think that would be that funny now. I think that's the sort of thing that would have fit in tonally more with season 1.
Yeah, probably.
Than tonally where the show is now. Because season 4 was kind of like a new beginning.
Yeah.
It was very tonally different. It had a lot of big difference in feel and tone that I loved.
Yeah, you're probably right. Diane's just gonna go on a bender, and BoJack's gonna see. Wait a minute. BoJack's gonna realize that he's got to stop drinking, and although they might put Diane into AA.
That would be hilarious. I could see that working. So what I think Diane's gonna go on a bender during divorce proceedings and show up at BoJack's. And then he's going to, throughout the series, he's going to realize how much she is like how he used to be.
Yeah.
And so he's going to try and help her in that way. And then he's also going to see the way she is with alcohol and go, oh shit, I'm not healthy with alcohol. Or the way she will be with alcohol then.
Yeah.
And they're setting it up. I mean, with the 10-day bender they go on underground, they're setting this up. Or they're setting up, they're doing stuff that could work well as setup for it, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
They're laying groundwork that could work for it.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would be kind of. It would be kind of funny to see Diane have to go attend AA meetings, and it's just like and she's just being completely dour the whole time, and he just doesn't want to be there, but she doesn't have a choice. She has to be there, and she's just.
Sorry, I predict that if she did end up being forced to go to AA, she shows up to the first meeting drunk.
that'd be hilarious.
Drunk Diane is the funniest Diane.
Yeah. And I don't think there's really anything else we can talk more about.
I had other observations that I wanted to make, but I think that I'm kind of blanking on them, and I think just we've kind of exhausted what we can talk about it today.
Yeah, we're nearly at 2.5 hours.
Yeah. I think we should at some point. Shit. Uh-oh.
Shit, what?
I heard back, and it looked like it was going to make me leave the call, but it actually just took me out of the video.
Oh, that's not bad.
Footage. 40 for the actual call, by the way.
Yeah.
I know we didn't start recording for. I think we should maybe after season 5 comes out next year, we should do an episode just on BoJack as a whole, as it stands there.
That might not be bad.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it'll be a good idea because there's a lot to talk about with BoJack. And get a guest on. I don't know that we know many people who watch it, but I know people who would love it if they watch it and who are interested in watching it. So
yeah, I would. If anyone is still listening, you probably should go see BoJack. It is legitimately, if it's not one of the best, it is the best cartoon that is being produced right now.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say, I said it's the best show being produced, period, by American TV. Mm-hmm. And then just now I thought, oh, Westworld is a thing. And I thought, you know what? Westworld is amazing, but I think, you know what? I think it's on par with Westworld. So Westworld and that are the best two. But Westworld, we're not getting a season this year. We're not getting a season until next year because scheduling weirdness.
What is Anthony Hopkins making another movie or something?
I can't answer whether that's relevant or not.
You said Anthony Hopkins'
spoiler.
schedule.
No, I said Anthony, and then I remembered. Wait, no, it's not. It's scheduling problems in general.
So it's more the network's fault, right?
It's other actors, but I cannot. I read somewhere it might have been Anthony Hopkins' schedule, but spoilers. Anthony Hopkins may not show up again next season. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, let me just... Here's a question you can answer that won't spoil anything. Is his character critical to the plot?
His character is certainly critical to the plot in season 1.
Anything else beyond that?
I don't know, because season 1 ends on a note that is kind of ambiguous about a lot. One thing I will say, they better fucking get Jeffrey Wright back, because Jeffrey Wright is fucking amazing. His character better be in season.
You know, you gotta check out the movie, the version of Westworld.
It's never appealed. I'll watch it someday, but it seems like a dumb action flick.
Correction, it's a campy 70s science fiction film.
Yeah, not really my cup of tea. You should watch the show, though. You should definitely watch the show. You'd like the show.
Maybe.
It's very smart. It's very well written. It's a lot of people comparing it to, early Game of Thrones. It's much better than even the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones were. I think it's better than them.
I'm sold on that. Game of Thrones is just... I washed my hands at Game of Thrones after season 6.
See, I didn't even last till then. Season 5 was so abominable that I went, I'm fucking out.
Yeah. And hell, why would I watch Game of Thrones anyway when I got Vikings?
Have you read the Game of Thrones books, the Song of Ice and Fire books?
I just don't have the time for them.
Dude, just read them sometime. They are a million times better. There's huge chunks of plot, like great plot that's left out of them, out of the last few seasons, and out of seasons 5 and 6 left out. Season 5 left out a lot from the books. I love the books. I'm just sticking to the books because the books are fucking great.
Yeah, I'll take your word on that.
You'll like the books, and you will get to them one day.
Since you like Lord of the Rings, Ice and Fire, and I think Chronicles of Narnia.
I like Narnia. I don't like it anywhere near as much as the others, so it's flawed and it's a bit heavy-handed in the allegory, but it's a good series.
Yeah, I'm just saying you probably might want to try picking up Elric of Melniboné.
Wah.
Elric of Melniboné.
Elric what?
Elric of Melniboné.
Elric of Melniboné. Okay. The first time you said it sounded like Elric of Melniboné, and then the second time you said it sounded slightly clearer, but still sounded like it was Elric, one weird-ass word.
Yeah.
Now it's Elric of one weird-ass word.
Okay, yeah, well, this series is why Game of Thrones even has context to exist. It basically invented dark fantasy.
Oh, that I've heard. Yes, I've heard of this. You know what is a good fantasy series?
Wheel of Time?
Never read it, can't comment.
I've heard it is.
The Belgariad. That's a good book series, The Belgariad. And the series that follows that. Who wrote that? I'm trying to remember who wrote that. I've got some of the books. That was David Eddings. David Eddings. He wrote... It's somewhat tropey, but it's very, very well executed. Belgariad, and then the follow-up, which is The Malorian, which I actually like more. It's kind of epic fantasy. Very good epic fantasy.
The thing with Elric, though, is it started out in pulp, so the books aren't all that... Most of the books aren't really that long.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of pulp, I might buy my bookshelf. Is it in this bookshelf or is it in the other one? Nope, this bookshelf doesn't have my, I got a few pulp books. I got a few books by, the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouse, sir. Those ones. You know the ones I mean, right?
Maybe.
Oh my god, you don't. Like. Oh. Shit.
Aside from Elric, the only pulp I know is The Shadow.
Well, you don't even know fucking the Conan books or know of them?
Conan. Oh, Conan. Yeah, I know Conan.
Yeah. Well, not Conan, but it was written by someone in the same circle. You know that circle with Conan and Lovecraft and.
Oh, you mean
Robert
Howard? You mean Robert E. Howard?
No, Robert E. Howard wrote.
Yeah, he wrote Conan.
Wrote Conan. Yeah. Did I say Conrad?
I think you said
instead of Howard.
I thought you said. I don't know. I heard, all I know is I heard Conan.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
And then I was saying that Howard wrote that, not Swords of Lankmar. I think that's one of the books in the series. Fafhrd and Grey Mars, the famous pulp books. And hugely influential on like D&D and stuff.
Ah. Yeah, well.
Most of their influence.
I'm surprised you don't know about The Shadow, because without The Shadow, there's no Batman.
I'm not a big Batman fan in the first place.
Yeah, but
so.
I'm not kidding though. Without The Shadow, there would be no Batman.
No, I've heard of it. Yeah. The Shadow. What's his name? Didn't what's his name do radio plays of The Shadow back in the day?
Orson Welles.
Yeah, Orson Welles. Yeah.
Yeah,
and The Shadow was kind of a fascio Batman.
More like an objectivist Batman.
Okay. Fuck objectivism.
Well, I don't know. Because the thing was, he existed before objectivism was a thing.
Yeah, but still, fuck egoism. Fuck that shit. Still, at least Rand is less obnoxious than. Sorry, at least hardcore Ayn Rand fans are less obnoxious than hardcore Max Stirner fans.
I'll pretend I know who that is.
Max Stirner, the German egoist anarchist. He came before Ayn Rand. Look him up. He wrote The Ego and Its Own. I've never read his stuff, so I don't know if he's any good, but fanboys of his tend to be pretty terrible.
Yeah, well, then again, that's the same as that's pretty much every anarchist out there.
Yeah. I think, alright, well, I'm getting hungry, so I think we should wrap this up.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I guess, since I want to get my more of my werewolf vid done. So.
Good idea.
Yep. So,
bye, cunts!
And hopefully we'll have more of Sam in the future.
Yeah.
Say yeah.
I'll try and. You just ended it, didn't you?
Nope.
Okay. I'll try and make sure that we can do something with me at least once a month.
Yeah.
So you get some content.
Alrighty. Now, bye, cunts.
Bye.